All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laser Talk. How's everyone doing so far this week? Good? Could be better? What a week. All right. Xi Jinping finally reappeared after 2 weeks' absence. He met with President Lukashenko in Beijing yesterday and spoke with President Trump today. But things aren't what they looked on the surface. Let's get to the bottom of them. So after visiting Henan from May 19th to 20th, the Chinese leader disappeared from public view for 2 full weeks. By June 3rd, speculation about his whereabouts were swirling. Then yesterday, he finally resurfaced to meet with visiting Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. Let's see. Let me have a picture. I have a picture of them. Yes, I do. There we go. Let me see. Everything is good. Okay, Chris said that I sound good. Okay, now I'm a little concerned about my microphone. So he reappeared. Now, this first public appearance in 15 days raised more questions than answers. In fact, the anomalies surrounding the meeting only deepened suspicions that Xi may no longer be in power. He's being propped up, possibly as a puppet. Some even suspect that he is under house arrest. Let me break it down for you. But before we go into details, here's something important to clarify. Many observers confuse visibility with power. Just because Xi Jinping shows up doesn't mean he's still in command. He hasn't stopped making public appearances even after reports of his waning authority began last year. He's been attending meetings, going on state visits, giving speeches. So his presence alone tells us nothing about who's really running the show. The latest 14-day absence wasn't necessarily about whether he still holds power. It was more likely a signal that internal forces, especially party elders, were weighing whether the time had come to officially announce his stepping down. Based on what we've seen, the answer for now is a no, or not yet. The elders don't seem ready. So Xi Jinping remains on stage, at least for the moment. And not just with Lukashenko. This morning, she also held a phone call with President Donald Trump. It was their first call since Trump returned to the White House. And a lot of interesting things happened. I'll cover that at the end of this program. Now, back to Lukashenko's visit. There were several glaring irregularities, clear signs that something was off. First, Beijing treated the visit with strikingly low specifications. First of all, there was no media buildup. When Lukashenko arrived in Beijing on June 2nd, major Chinese outlets went silent. Only the Global Times mentioned it, and even then, it simply reprinted Belarusian state media, or Belta. I think that's the name of their news agency, Belta. It felt like Chinese media didn't want to touch the subject at all, afraid of saying something wrong. And then Xi Jinping met the visiting president, the morning of June 4th. Belarusian media reported the meeting at around 10:30 a.m. That's when their first report came out. But Xinhua didn't release anything until 1 p.m. And even then, the article contained no photos of the meeting. For Xi's first public appearance in 2 weeks, there was a lot of anticipation. This triggered immediate suspicion. Only around 3 p.m., nearly 2 hours later, did Xinhua update the article to add a photo. And that photo actually came from the Belarusian media, not Xinhua. I think it's this photo. Were Chinese journalists not even allowed in the room? I don't think so. So these delays and omissions are not normal, especially for a meeting involving Xi Jinping. He would never permit such low-key handling under normal circumstances. This suggests two things. One, all press materials, I should say, related to Xi now require higher level approval, and that takes time. And two, his image is being deliberately downplayed. And also, even with the report, the Xinhua article was unusually brief. Basically, it just says they met, she gave a few generic remarks, and Lukashenko responded in kind. And the piece closed with one line: Wang Yi attended the meeting. And then all party-run outlets used the exact same release. CCTV aired a 90-second segment narrated entirely by a news anchor reading the official release, word for word. No audio from Xi Jinping himself was included, and that's highly unusual. So the absence of live audio was has even prompted some observers to suspect that a body double was used. That theory aside, what's even more telling is that Belarusian and even Russian state media actually provided more detailed coverage than Chinese outlets, which I will share with you in just a moment. And from their footage, we can confirm it was indeed Xi Jinping, not a body double. So in conclusion, Beijing's ultra-low profile handling of Lukashenko's visit is a major departure from past protocol, right? And that's my first point. And the second point is the unusual venue that this meeting took place. So according to Xinhua, the meeting took place in Zhounanhai, the central leadership compound in Beijing where top leaders work and live. However, the report gave no details about the exact location. Belarusian state media was far more specific. They reported that the meeting was held inside Xi Jinping's personal residence within Zhounanhai, meaning this was not just a political encounter, but a meeting in Xi Jinping's own home. Actually, you know what? I have Chris has given me a video to download. Where is that video? I will. Where is that video? Okay, did it download? Okay, here we go. Actually, I'll play that in a little bit. Let me just come back to where did that video go? Sorry. Video here. Oh, here's the video. Let me play the video. It's only 1.5 minutes, but it's interesting. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Let me start from the very beginning. This is from, I think, Russian, originally Belarusian media, and then I think Russian media also used it.
Привет. 好，我们先在这谈一谈。
That's Xi Jinping talking. It is his voice. He said, let's first talk here. Let's first have a chat here.
Сначала поговорим здесь, а потом в обед. Be careful.
Уважаемый председатель, я очень ценю.
Okay, I'm not going to play the part that Lukashenko spoke. Actually, what people notice is it's very interesting that in the Russian and Belarusian media coverage, they didn't show any audio clips of Xi Jinping either. They played the audio clips or the video clips of Lukashenko speaking, as you can see, but there was no clips from Xi Jinping, from the Russians or the Belarusians. Very interesting. But did you notice the heavy let me play that video again. Maybe I should play it again. Let me make this bigger. Some people notice the enormous amount of bodyguards in the background. Take a look.
，Привет。好，我们先在这儿谈一谈。好，сначала поговорим здесь, а потом победа. Be careful.
Okay. So yeah, so some people noticed that there were a lot of men or Chinese men, young men wearing dark clothes in the background, moving around. So that means that there was either an extraordinarily large entourage or high security. I'll address that in a little bit. So yeah, the Belarusian state media reported that the meeting was held inside Xi Jinping's personal residence. It was his home. And according to Belta, the Belarusian news agency, Xi Jinping told Lukashenko that he said, "Right next door is my office. This is the first time I'm hosting you here." So that comment raised eyebrows. Where exactly is Xi Jinping's office? Now, Belta also released a photo of the meeting room. And let me actually show that to you. This is oh, I need to remove this. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is released by the Belarusian press, and this is where they met. And then someone zoomed in and then found that this is a place called Chunyi Zhai. That's what the inscription said, which identifies the location as this Chunyi Zhai is located in Fengzeyuan, which is a cluster of traditional courtyard homes within Zhongnanhai. And this is where Mao Zedong used to live. Actually, in terms of the map, it's where the red arrow points. It's in the northwest corner of Fengzeyuan. Now, Fengzeyuan is quite a large place. These courtyards are large because when they were first built, the royal family had built even like a rice paddy field inside. I don't know why, but they probably want to make sure that they're self-sufficient, that they could actually grow rice themselves. So there was like a half acre to a close acre rice paddy inside. So it's not a small place. You can tell from this map because the scale of this map is, this is actually the southern section of Zhongnanhai. So one of the courtyards in that area was where Mao Zedong used to live. So when Xi Jinping said, "My office is right next door," that got people curious. Well, what is he referring to? Because the CCP top leader's office is possibly in two locations. One is the man-made island called Yingtai, the little island in the middle of the pond that I had a blue arrow pointing to. Either that or the place with the other blue arrow. It's a place called Qingzheng Palace. So it's either these two places. Some people believe Xi Jinping's office is on the island because he likes to be special, because that island is a special place with great view, water view. I mean, it is said to be a place used for the top leader's office. So it's either or, okay? Now, the locations, these two locations are actually quite far from where he lives, from where he met with Lukashenko. So here's the actual aerial view of the place. You can't tell the scale from looking at the map, but here's an actual view of the place. So the red arrow is where he lives, and then the two blue arrows are the two possible places of his office. So here's the question. So people wonder, so when he said, my office is right next door, what is he talking about? Either of the two locations for his office or his real office, his official office, doesn't look like next door. So that triggered people, questioning, well, does that mean that he has moved his office? Does that mean that he's been kicked out of the party chief's office and moved, really next door? I mean, maybe he's forced to work from home. When he said, my office is right next door, people just wonder if he has been forced to work from home and moved out of the official office location. So that's just one comment. Now, hosting a visiting head of state inside a party or the party leader's personal residence is a major break from protocol. Let me come back. It's a major protocol violation, shall we say. Because it has not happened before. I mean, the only exception was when Mao Zedong received President Nixon in his study, but that was when Mao was old and frail, and that wasn't the only meeting that Nixon had with Chinese leadership, right? So it's receiving a head of state in your home is virtually unheard of. And in all previous visits of Lukashenko, Xi Jinping received him at the Diaoyutai State Guest House, which is a venue specifically designated for receiving foreign dignitaries. So a quick review shows that since Xi Jinping took office, there have only been 2 other instances where he met foreign heads of state inside Zhounanhai. Not at his home, but inside Zhounanhai. The first time was in November 2014, when Xi Jinping held a private tea session with Barack Obama at Yingtai Pavilion, that little island, which he might be using as his office. So that was in 2014. And then in May 2023, he hosted Vladimir Putin for an informal tea meeting, also within Zhounanhai, but I think it was in Ziguangge, somewhere else. So here's the key difference. Those meetings were informal add-ons. They were held after formal state events at official venues like the Great Hall of the People or Diaoyutai Guest House. And they were only symbolic gestures or personal touch after diplomacy had already been conducted, right? So this time is different. Xi Jinping received Lukashenko entirely within his personal residence. There was no formal reception elsewhere, no official venue. And so that's unprecedented, right? Not just in Xi's tenure, but possibly in the last 40. I mean, not only in Xi's tenure, but in the last 40 years. Like I said, the only exception was when Mao Zedong met Nixon in 1972. And also, there were a number of space or venues in Zhounanhai that are used as ceremonial halls to host foreign visitors. So hosting someone in your living room is unheard of. So here's the question: why? Why did Xi Jinping receive Lukashenko in his own living room? Is Xi Jinping too ill to leave his home, or is he not allowed to leave his home? And also, people noted that Lukashenko arrived with a large entourage, and many of them looked like Chinese security personnel. And this was Zhounanhai, arguably the most secure location in China. So why such heavy security in an already restricted compound? And why inside the courtyard where Xi Jinping lives? Were they there to protect Xi or to monitor him? That's food for thought. Okay, my next point is Belarus describes the visit as a special trip for a family-style lunching. As I mentioned earlier, Chinese state media gave no meaningful details about the meeting, but Belta, the Belarusian state media, did. So according to Belta, the meeting began with a casual tea session, followed by a one-on-one conversation, and then a lunch. And Belarusian first deputy prime minister, his name is Nikolai Snopkov, emphasized the unique nature of the visit in an interview with the press. And here's what the first deputy prime minister said. He said, negotiations were optional. What mattered most was the visit itself. In principle, no other world leader would adopt this kind of approach for a diplomatic visit. This was a family-style, friendly lunching, and that was the core. That was the entire purpose of this trip. Isn't that interesting? That wasn't a working visit or an official one. It was a family meal. And perhaps there's no harm in the world's major leaders gathering to discuss the shared future of their people. This is what he said. He said he continued to elaborate. He said there wasn't a working visit. This wasn't a working visit or an official one. It was a family meal. Listen to this. And perhaps there's no harm in the world's major leaders gathering to discuss the shared future of their peoples on the global stage. Okay, so that's what the deputy prime minister said. I think he wasn't wrong. There's no other heads of state meeting like this. I think he hit it on the nail. But in the context of Xi Jinping's recent unexplained disappearance, a so-called family-style lunching has triggered even more questions than answers. If this was truly a casual private gathering, then why did Lukashenko stay in China for 3 days? Why did he have to wait 2 days before having this lunch with Xi Jinping at his residence? If it was a family event, why weren't their spouses present? Xi Jinping's wife, Peng Liyuan, lives there. Why wasn't she present to host the family lunching? If there was really a family-style gathering then, where was the family? So the setting only raises more questions, right? Has Xi Jinping already lost control of the party, the government, and China's diplomatic machine? Has he become a ceremonial figurehead, performing purely symbolic gestures like a monarch, while real power shifts somewhere else? Maybe, or just maybe, the family visit narrative was a convenient excuse to explain a much more inconvenient setup or truth, which is that Xi Jinping can no longer leave his home. In other words, he's under strict internal surveillance. And there's another oddity. Wang Yi, the head of CCP's Office of Foreign Affairs department, and who is also the foreign minister, was the only high-ranking official present at the meeting. Cai Qi, a Politburo Standing Committee member, and Xi Jinping's chief of staff, was noticeably absent. And this marks a break from previous protocol. In both of Xi Jinping's past meetings with Lukashenko, on December 4th, 2023 and July 4th, 2024, both Wang Yi and Cai Qi were present. And also contrast with Lukashenko's previous visits, when he met not only with Xi Jinping, but also with other top CCP leaders like Premier Li Qiang and also chairman of the National People's Congress. This visit looks very, very different, right? It looks very low-key. It has become a family affair, basically. So something is not right. Now, let's also talk about Lukashenko's remarks at the airport. It's an interesting exit statement, or I should say a cryptic exit statement. So before leaving Beijing, Lukashenko spoke with reporters at the airport, mostly his press, offering what sounded like a veiled explanation for the unusual nature of his visit. He openly acknowledged the lack of fanfare and public promotion by saying, "There was no ceremony around meetings with those we need and those willing to work with us." Interesting, huh? He said, "those we need and those willing to work with us." And then he quoted Xi Jinping saying, "As Xi Jinping put it, we must act swiftly, stay calm when needed, but also operate quietly. That's our way of doing things." And then he went on to describe the visit as a small circle family gathering, not formal, not work-related, just a family gathering. That sounds weird. I mean, do you believe that he brought his first deputy prime minister to China and then both calling it just a family gathering, not work-related? And then he said, "That said, the Chinese, being Chinese, still organize it at the highest level. Well done. We held talks with representatives from the real economy sectors and the Ministry of Finance." By the way, that's his words. That itself contradicts with the family gathering. So they did hold business meetings, right? And then so he went on to say, "Today we also met with the president of China, Xi Jinping, and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and our old friends." And then came the most cryptic line of all. He said, "I believe this visit was a success. Most importantly, the corridor was opened up for those in charge on both sides to take action." That phrase, "those in charge on both sides," sounds deliberately vague. Who exactly is in charge in China right now? Who did he actually meet the day before, and the 2 days before he met with Xi Jinping? Was Lukashenko referring to Xi Jinping or those working behind the scenes? All right. So let's talk about what did they actually talk about, right? So up until this point, everything I've shared with you is based on facts, official press coverage, and verifiable reports. Now let's turn to the speculative part of this. The rumors circulating behind the scenes. There are many versions about why Lukashenko came, but they all centered on the single core idea, which is that Lukashenko was sent by Vladimir Putin. And here's the broader context. Following Ukraine's massive spiderweb drone offensive, Putin responded by sending his security advisor, I think it's Security Council Secretary, Sergei Shoigu, to North Korea. Actually, I have a picture of that. Here we go. He arrived in Pyongyang on June 4th. I think it's June 4th. I don't know when the meeting took place. I think the meeting might have taken place also on June 4th. But this is the picture. I think he arrived on June 4th. The meeting might have taken, I don't know, today. So if you think about it, Putin sent Shoigu to North Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un. And then simultaneously, Lukashenko was dispatched to Beijing, right? Supposedly on a mission to meet with Xi Jinping. The main goal of Lukashenko's trip, according to various sources, was to assess whether Xi Jinping is still in control and to pressure him to stay aligned with Russia. Some rumors even go further. There was one source that said that Putin sent Lukashenko not just to pressure Xi Jinping, but to save him. They said that Putin issued a warning. I mean, Putin understands that Xi Jinping's power Xi Jinping is seriously in trouble. So he sent Lukashenko to Beijing to issue a warning to the CCP party elders or whoever is actually running China now. So the warning is, if you remove Xi, we will retaliate with military force, possibly even nuclear escalation. It sounds dramatic, but in the high-stakes world of geopolitics, it's not entirely out of the question. So what does China want in return, right? Other sources offer a different version. One, it paints Xi Jinping as being coerced by Putin into continuing support for Russia's war in Ukraine. But the CCP reportedly made two demands. One is to allow China to establish a military base in Belarus, I think a permanent one. And the second is to permit joint development of disputed northeastern territories, including areas like Vladivostok, once called Haishenwai, once part of the Qin dynasty. So according to these rumors or whispers, Putin didn't reject the offer, nor did he agree to it either. He's leaving it vague. So let me be clear. None of this is confirmed. These are just unverified rumors spreading around. Part of the quiet but back-channel conversations taking place. But even rumors in time like these can be revealing, can be telling, especially when they all point in the same direction. That is, Xi Jinping is no longer the master of his own fate. His best buddy in Moscow had to send someone in to give him a hand. That just tells you how big his trouble is. All right, now let's talk about Xi Jinping's call to, with Donald Trump. Let me get rid of these pictures because, oh yeah, I need these visual aids because they will tell you something. Okay, so that took place, this morning? Yes, this morning. Xi Jinping spoke with Donald Trump. On the surface, both sides claimed victory, but in reality, nothing concrete was achieved. The only takeaways? One vague agreement to keep talking and negotiating, and an invitation for Trump to visit China. For Trump, the priorities were clear. One, to get Xi on the phone. Two, to raise concerns over rare earth disputes. And three, to continue the trade or the tariff negotiations. For Xi Jinping, the objective was different. He wanted, his top objective is to get Trump to go to China. And Trump accepted. Now, let's take a step back. That invitation and Trump's acceptance are both unusual. Why would Trump agree to visit China before any deal is reached, right? What if the trade negotiations collapse and the trade war escalates? What will he do? Will he still go? Well, the answer why Trump has accepted this invitation to visit China at such a sensitive time lies in Trump's instincts. He wants to visit China to see for himself who's really in charge and possibly meet whoever might replace Xi Jinping. Now, for Xi Jinping, hosting Trump buys him time. It keeps him on stage a little longer. It will help him send a message to the world that he is still the face of China. When it comes to the trade war, I do not believe any CCP faction is genuinely ready to negotiate. Internally, they're still trapped in a bitter power struggle. But here's what's striking. Both Xi Jinping and his opponents actually share the same approach, which is to drag things out. Flip-flop, delay, stall as long as possible. Now, why is that? Well, first, they're not ready to negotiate. And secondly, they're betting that Trump's domestic political opposition might eventually work in their favor if they hold out long enough. So this delay tactic is going to be played by both Xi Jinping and his opponents. And I hope President Trump sees through the game. Now, as I mentioned, Xi Jinping wants Trump to visit Beijing to help prolong his time in power. But Xi Jinping's opponents want that visit too. They are desperate to find a channel to speak with Trump because being in the shadow, their ability to engage directly with the Trump administration is very limited. So a state visit could create an opening for a dialogue with them. And it's worth mentioning that for every CCP leader, the first priority, or for every CCP leader, or every new CCP leader, taking over, the first priority after rising to power has always been to stabilize relations with the United States. That was true for Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and this time is no different. Now, I want to talk about the weird treatment of this talk by China's state media. They send out subtle but telling signals. In their coverage of this call, they initially dropped Xi Jinping's title altogether. So here's why I want to share with you the pictures. Let me make this bigger. So if you read Chinese, the fonts are tiny, but the top one was, they issued such a short, brief update, basically said that Xi Jinping had a phone conversation with American President Trump. That's what the first press release said, or Xinhua release said. And then a few minutes later, they realized they made a mistake because Xi Jinping was not given any title. Could you imagine that? They just call him Xi Jinping. There was no title. So they issued a new release by giving Xi Jinping the title of the president. So then if you see the bottom one, it says President Xi Jinping had a phone call with American President Trump. But the original version wasn't removed. It's still circulating. You can still find them online. And what's more, a CCTV anchor recorded a segment using the old script. Here it is. Without mentioning Xi Jinping's title. This is unthinkable of. How can a CCTV anchor mention Xi Jinping's name without giving him any, honorific, right? So that's unimaginable in the past. But now it's happening. And Xinhua didn't even bother to correct it by removing the old posts. So both posts exist online. And that alone tells you that Xi Jinping is no longer in full control, no matter how many public appearances he makes. All right, so that's all I have for you. Hopefully, I made my case clearly presented. Okay, I want to make two announcements. One is this week's Looking Glass video is released, and it's a fascinating story about why Chinese men are afraid of women and love. And it was actually based on a recent viral legal case that became viral. Yeah, it was hotly debated, particularly among Chinese men. So that's, Chris, if you can provide the link here, that's released. I hope you will enjoy that. And secondly, I'm wearing a Lay's Real Talk branded t-shirt. The wisdom to know, the courage to tell. And so if you're interested in Lay's branded products, you could also check them out from the link below. All right, that's all. It's a mouthful. Let me see. Oh, I want to first thank the people with the super stickers. Thank you. All right. There are a lot of dialogues, comments, conversations. Okay, great. Let me first thank the people with the super stickers. Let me quickly go through them. Drusilla Schultz. Thank you, Drusilla, for always being there for me. Thank you. And next is... Oh, I'm scrolling. Here we go. Do we have one? Do I see one? Oh my goodness. Wow, there are a lot of conversations. From Jesse Light. Buy a coffee and or a drink from us for all of your hard work, Lei. It's not easy to expose all this stuff. You are one of the best CCP watcher journalists on the internet. Love from Northwest Florida, USA. All right. Well, thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. All right. I could take a sip of water right now because it's hot. It's very hot today. Thank you. Van Ket. Very hard to believe that Putin is in a position to warn CCP, particularly after the recent episode of Ukraine destroying Russian air. That's why he dispatched his 2 envoys, one to North Korea, one to China. I mean, the timing, are perfectly in sync with the current development. I think it makes sense, right? And here's one from Mike Stewart. Lei, will Xi be allowed to travel as he wishes in his retirement? Will he live out of his days in luxury, or will CCP steal all his stuff? I think it's too early to tell. I think not likely. Not likely, like allowed to travel. No, because this was a policy that has governed all CCP retired officials, past and present. He did not allow others to travel freely without his permission. So he's going to be, binded by the same rule. So I don't think he will be able to travel freely. Manny Kyla, thank you. How cats are seen in Chinese culture? Cats and dogs. I think Chinese like cats more than dogs because cats are easier. You don't need to walk the cats, but you need to walk dogs. So the Chinese, the cats are easier. So they love cats. Yeah. I had a neighbor growing up. I had a neighbor who had a cat, and yeah, I don't remember a lot of Chinese having dogs, even though that might have been changed now. So Peter Colborn, thank you, Peter. Okay. Richard Hingman, I think it's dangerous for Trump to go to China. Aren't the Chinese famous for whining, dining, and manipulating foreign guests? Oh, I think it would be hard to manipulate him, but I think he's very frustrated because you don't know who you are dealing with. I mean, if he spends time negotiating with Xi Jinping and then only to find out that Xi Jinping will step down in a few months, then what's the point of negotiating with Xi? Right? But then he also understands the Chinese are not going to they're not going to tell you, oh, by the way, Xi Jinping is not going to say, by the way, I'm out in a few months. You need to talk to my deputy, or you need to talk to my successor. I mean, that's not how the Chinese work. So it's really a waste of time for him. So he wants to find out what's going on. And maybe he wants to talk to the next leader. maybe he wants to talk to whoever is going to be in charge. And the only way to talk to that person is by going to China, because that person can't come to the US, because that would become news already. The information will be leaked. So the only way is for Trump to go to China. I mean, this is the only solution. Otherwise, how is he going to negotiate with China if he doesn't go there? Here's a question Chris forwarded from Michael Nitaki. Who are these mysteries, powerful leaders in China who can offer Secretary Xi Jinping's position and office? There are a group of retired party elders. And the highest ranking one is Hu Jintao. Now, here's something about Hu Jintao's health, because we've all heard that Hu Jintao is not in good health. But there was someone saying that Hu is known for, faking his health problems. Years ago, he used health reasons to stay out of trouble. So people say that he might be in excellent health condition, but he has told everyone prior to this point that he was in poor health so that he stayed out of trouble, right? I mean, people really got concerned. These leaders got really concerned after Li Keqiang died. So to protect themselves, they, I think, started a rumor mill saying that, I'm in poor health. I'm so sick that I can't do anything. They say that Hu Jintao might have used that trick, but the fact is he's not in poor health. So Drusilla Schrodt, how long can China hold out before settling this trade issue? I don't know. It depends on how brutal their internal fight is. And also it depends on how much pressure Trump puts on them. I think Trump should continue put pressure on them. Okay. Here's a comment from Matthew Peters. Please keep up the good work and continue to let us know what is or is not the truth. Thank you for clarifying the difference, and you will keep a subscriber. Well, thank you. I'm glad that I've kept a subscriber. Okay. All right, let's see. Any super stickers coming my way? Oh, Drusilla. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being there for me. Here's a question forwarded by Chris from Lee Pywell. Lei, what's your thoughts on Chinese buying land near military bases? It should be outlawed. It's absolutely detrimental to U.S. national security, because it may appear, I mean, the owner may appear to be a private person, but we know behind him could be the CCP, Big Brother. So it's we shouldn't let that happen. Okay, here's a question. Here, let me see. Do I have, chasing the light. Do you think she underestimated Hu Jintao? Maybe Hu could have been way worse, but just made the decision to be nice. When you think, I think he underestimated Hu Jintao. He seriously did. I mean, when he forced him out at the party congress, he made a serious mistake. And take a look at now. I mean, Hu Jintao's people are on the rise. I mean, there were a lot of personnel changes at the provincial levels, and the pattern is clear. Hu Jintao's people are being installed in key positions at the provincial local level. So I think Xi Jinping has underestimated. See, here's I think leaders like Xi Jinping, and also to some extent, the leaders like Trump or even Elon Musk. I mean, to take a look at what happened today, right? They don't understand the power of being insignificant. I mean, Trump is what they say alpha male type of leader, my way or the highway. But there is a wisdom in being insignificant. And Hu Jintao certainly understands that. There are times that you just have to stay low, stay out of trouble, say nothing, and wait for the right moment to come back. So I understand Trump's need to be transparent in the White House, but sometimes it's counterproductive. You air all your internal troubles and your dirty laundries in front of the world. It's less productive. People don't need to know all of that. Transparency, when over-exercised, becomes counterproductive. So I think great wisdom isn't just about how strong you are. I think that's a very Western-style leadership. But the Chinese leadership, certainly, there's a different element to that. That is being insignificant and being very low-key and yielding, flexible. That doesn't mean that you're not strong. But you need to do that. And I think I don't think Xi Jinping has that quality either. But I think Hu Jintao certainly does. And that's why he's able to pull a comeback right now. And I hope Western leaders can learn something from ancient Chinese wisdom. Because it's not good for yourself. Then what's the point of what's the point of the two of them fighting? They're not helping themselves. It's counterproductive. Anyway, it's just, in my opinion, it's just lack of good wisdom, not wise at all. Sometimes the best thing you can do is say nothing. Silence is a very powerful weapon if people know how to use it. Mike Stewart, thank you, Lei. Well, thank you, Mike. All right, that's all for tonight. I reached the bottom, and I thank you, everyone, for joining me. And I thank everyone, those of you who gave me super stickers. I appreciate that. And I'll see you over the weekend. Okay, bye-bye.